Welcome to Hybrid powered by chinkseyMEDIA. Following Mikel Arteta's pre-Leeds United press conference, I'm going to read a transcript of his press conference and I'm going to give my opinion of what I deduce from the transcript. Mikel Arteta has been speaking to the press ahead of our first home match of the season against Leeds United. The boss answered questions on Kai Havertz, Saturday's opponents and much more at the Soba Realty Training Centre. Find out everything that went down by pressing play on the video above or read our full transcript below. On Kai Havertz's injury, he's certainly not fit for this match. Unfortunately, he has picked up an injury. We don't really know yet the extent of it. I think we need a bit more time and some more tests. And after that, we will have more clarity about the next steps. All right, cool. Well, let's have it right. Kai Havertz is going to be out for the foreseeable future. Similarly to Gabriel Jesus' long-term injury, which I still don't know how long he's officially supposed to be out for, but when he did get injured, it was apparent that he would be out over 6 months, probably 9 months, and possibly longer than that. He got injured in around January, right? So similarly to that, this Kai Havertz injury doesn't seem as you know, as what's the word I'm looking for? I'm bad with words, right? Doesn't seem as long term as Gabriel Jesus, but obviously it seems like a semi long term one. I'm gonna presume probably 2, 3, 4 months, something around that time frame. So we will see. But obviously Mikel doesn't really wanna give too much away, and I don't blame him. On if it's a flare up of a knee injury, I prefer not to talk about the specifics, but if he's not fit, as I said, we need to explore that issue a little bit further and decide what we're going to do. So yeah, once again, as I've already said, obviously Kai Havertz, it's clear he's going to miss the next few games, going to be out for the foreseeable future. Obviously, he's looking for a doctor's prognosis and yeah, there's not really much to add to that. On what kind of scenario it could be, I don't know. The worst scenario is that he cannot play tomorrow. I would love to have him fresh and available, bringing what he brings to the team, but unfortunately, that is not going to be possible. Well, I guess it's clear he won't play tomorrow, and I think it's also clear he won't play against Liverpool. Then we have the international break. One thing it does do, though, is make his decision to start up front pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward. It's going to be Viktor Gyökeres. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see if Kai Havertz started tomorrow. I doubt it. I think he would have went for Viktor Gyökeres, but yeah, Viktor's likely to play longer than an hour, I would say, like he did on Sunday. And I'm going to stick my neck out and say I reckon he probably played a full 90, although you could do a few things. You could put Mikel Merino up there. You could put Martinelli up there. There's a few options there, but it'll be nice to see Viktor finish the game tomorrow. On how Kai is handling it mentally. Mentally, he's in a good place because he's a really strong boy, very committed. He had an incredible recovery from the hamstring injury. I think he'd never had an injury before. It was the first experience. Now, he's got a setback. Let's see how bad it is. But I'm sure he's going to deal with it in the best possible way. And as I said, he's a joy of a kid. And hopefully, we're going to have him soon. Well, that's the thing, though. You're not something until you are. So obviously, Kai Havertz is around 26 years old, if not 26. I'm pretty sure he is. But yeah, it's one thing not being injured, but it's like waiting for a bus. You wait you wait so long for one and two come at once. So obviously Kai has now had 2 injuries in a few months, and obviously they're not you know, they're semi-serious injuries. He's obviously had his hamstring injury and then obviously now this knee injury. So hopefully he can kind of come back again and hit the ground running. But yeah, man, it's a shame to have him out because he's come back. He's got himself stronger. He's been in the gym, filled out a little bit, But yeah, it's football. It's life, isn't it? On Ben White and Christian Norgaard's fitness, Christian won't be in the squad. With Ben, let's see how he reacts and what we decide. Christian will be out for another week or so. So that's interesting. Ben White literally looked fit, looked sharp over pre-season. He's been playing well. He's giving us width on the right side. And obviously Jurrien Timber, which we'll get to, seems to kind of have, run out of steam a little bit after having a phenomenal season last season, playing almost every single game, every minute. But he kind of broke down towards the end. So that is why signings like Christian Mosquera were made, because Ben White, Timber, one or both of them, fitness issues over the last year or 18 months. So obviously Christian Mosquera is a young budding player with a lot of energy, strength. He's a powerhouse. So if one or both of those right backs are a doubt tomorrow, then yeah, rest assured Christian Mosquera is willing and raring to go. His namesake Christian Norgaard, it's a shame that he's missed our first 2 games of the season. Obviously, he's missed the Manchester United game last Sunday. And obviously, the manager's just confirmed him out for tomorrow's game, which is a shame because in pre-season he looked pretty good and there was a few people tipping him to start that United game. But yeah, hopefully Norgaard can come back stronger. If not for the Liverpool game, then after the international break. And fight for his place in the side. On links to Eberechi Eze, there's nothing to comment on. I can never talk about anything that's not part of our group or club yet. Well, as we know with Mikel, he never gives anything away, but I think it's pretty obvious that he is joining the club. Obviously, I think there's so many telling signs, but the most telling sign of all was the fact that he missed Palace's 1-0 victory against Fredrikstad yesterday at Selhurst Park. He was in the ground, but he didn't feature. He was actually supposed to, but obviously the club pulled him up because of his impending transfer to the Arsenal. So yeah, I think it's pretty much done. He's allegedly taken his medical today, probably taking it at the time of recording, and it's just a matter of time before he's unveiled as an Arsenal player. On how important it is to get the sense a player wants to be at Arsenal, that's number one. That they want to be with us, that they feel something special coming to us. Then the person, what personality we're going to bring, and then the rest comes. I think we've done that very, very well in the last few years to create a group of players and the spirit in the team. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot to do with that is a lot of these players actually support Arsenal. I could reel off a few that are just Arsenal fans. A lot of the young boys especially. So players like Bukayo, Ethan, Miles are Arsenal fans. Players like Gabriel, Saliba. Well, Saliba's supposed to be an Arsenal fan, but players like Gabriel and Declan Rice and David Raya, you can see that they love the club. They fight for the badge. There's a lot. Martinelli the same way. He's almost like a kind of adopted youth player. So these guys love the club. Arsenal's a family club, and yeah, we make players feel welcome. A lot of the ex-players that have left the club always come back. Mind you, players like Bakary Sagna are in and around the club. Players like Nasri have come back to the club. So, once a Gooner, always a Gooner, as they say. And if it's better if they grew up supporting Arsenal, well, I touched on that a little bit. The better the feeling, the stronger the feeling. I think the better always, because it brings a different edge, a different will and emotion to what you do. I think that always brings something extra. So the fact that Eberechi Eze not only supports Arsenal, not only was and probably still is a huge Arsenal fan, He played for the club as a youngster, so that feeling of unfinished business, that feeling of, right, I've fought so hard, I've showed my grit, determination, resilience to have setbacks and just come and just give everything. I was there in May, I think it was April, when he scored that belter from a corner against us, unfortunately, at our expense, when Palace drew 2-2, I believe, at the Emirates. And that was a phenomenal goal. So this player, I just can't wait to see him at the carpet, man. Number 10. On if it was always the plan for Viktor Gyökeres to play just an hour on his debut. It depended on how the game developed. Every game brings different challenges, opportunities. I think the game was very demanding physically, became really open for different reasons, and we decided that at that moment he needed to come off, and we had Kai on the bench to come and change the game. Well, I did say off air to a few of the Arsenal fans that Viktor Gyökeres looks a bit top heavy, and not in an overweight way, in a muscular way. Sometimes you can have too much muscle where you lose agility, where you're a bit sluggish to turn. To Premier League football, centre-backs are really fit. They're athletes right now. So obviously, for me, I think Viktor Gyökeres needs to lose a little bit of muscle. He obviously needs to get himself more fitter. He's a fast boy, strong boy, powerful. But yeah, I think as time goes on, he will trim down slightly, get himself slightly more lean, the more training sessions he has, and I'm sure he'll dovetail well with his teammates. On if it was always the plan for Viktor Gyökeres to play just an hour on his debut. It depended on how the game developed. Every game brings different challenges, opportunities. I think the game was very demanding physically, became really open for different reasons, and we decided that at that moment he needed to come off, and we had Kai on the bench to come and change the game. So, well, it was, a lot of people criticised the performance from Viktor on Sunday. He did put himself about. He was mostly up against De Ligt. Showed he was more powerful. However, down to the fitness, he looked slightly off the pace. But like I said, the more training sessions he gets under his belt, the more matches, minutes he gets under his belt. And once he gets that important first goal, hopefully tomorrow, I'm sure we're going to see the best of Viktor Gyökeres, that's for sure. On if Viktor is ready to go again. Yes, he is. He's very, very enthusiastic. He trained really well this week again. He's had another week under his belt. He looks in a really good place. I can attest to that because I was at one of his training sessions at the Emirates on Wednesday, and obviously there's a video on this channel which you see him rifle home a thunderous effort, and the boy means business. I think he's got a shoot on sight policy, and I like that. So if he kind of gets half a yard, half a chance, he will not hesitate to get a shot off. And put it this way, he didn't have a shot on Sunday, but he will tomorrow. On Leeds United, very impressed. I've been watching them, what they did in pre-season, what they did on Monday, what they did last year, in the manner they did it. Big compliments to the way they play, to the coach. I'm sure they are going to put a really difficult match against us tomorrow. Mikel, they're low blocking it tomorrow. They're low blocking it. I mean, it's all well and good bigging up the opponent, as every manager does in this day and age. You always... you always big up your opponent, say how good they are, how well they've done, but you never, obviously, because you don't want to give the opponents an edge to the game. You don't want to say something negative to kind of rile up the opponents and essentially do the manager's team talk for them. However, tomorrow's going to be a really stodgy game, I think. Probably Leeds will be like the kind of Ipswich of last season, where in the Championship they romped it, came to the Premier League, found it a bit difficult. But Leeds got some fast players in the break. They've got some good players, and a few people are tipping them to beat the drop. As you've seen in my league predictions, I've got them to go down. I think it's gonna be a tough game, but I think we're gonna have a good result tomorrow. On being creative from set pieces, that creativity comes from different angles, and in every phase of play we try to do that. At Old Trafford we had many situations from open play. As well as that, we should have and could have exploited the situations much better to be much more efficient in how we finish actions, especially because then they went the other way very quickly. In that sense, especially being the first one, which is really difficult, we all pay a lot of attention to that. That's a big resource that we can have, and it brings confidence as well that the team can score goals from any situation. Yeah, I mean, you can look at it many ways. For me, there's always two sides and two ways looking at every situation. You can look at it as, yeah, like Mikel said, that we can score from any situation, or there's the other side where you can look at it as supposedly we're becoming too reliant on set pieces, and now that when we are struggling to break sides down, and obviously the other teams, the opponents, become accustomed to our set piece routine, which we've obviously changed up, and if that doesn't work, then you know what I mean. But yeah, there's different ways to skin a cat, and obviously when you're up against low block, it's a good tool to have in your armory. No pun intended. By the way, the armory is a really good shop, even though I usually buy things online from the Arsenal. Right, on creating a big atmosphere at Emirates Stadium. It's always very special. I think everybody is very excited for the first game. It brings a different energy around the stadium. I'm sure they missed it. They missed the team. We have certainly missed our supporters and that connection. And tomorrow, I'm sure from the first whistle, I think everybody is going to be at it and we're going to have a good game. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we've had a competitive home game at the Emirates. The last one was against Newcastle in May. So it's been a good 3 months. So obviously, yeah, tickets have been hard to get for this game. I'll tell you that for free. But yeah, I think it's going to be a sellout stadium. The fans will be... the fans will be at it tomorrow. So under the lights, 5:30 at the Emirates. It's going to be a full house. Obviously, we've got a lot of new players that are in contention for their home debuts, namely Viktor Gyökeres and Martin Zubimendi, who are almost certainly going to start. I fancy Christian Mosquera to maybe sneak in at right back because of his athleticism, which could be pivotal against a team like Leeds, who have pace on the break with people like Wilfred Gnonto and Daniel James. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does sneak in at right back. But I think it's going to be a very good game. Leeds United have amazing fans. They're going to bring it to us tomorrow. They're going to be up for it regardless of the result. And I'm sure it's going to be a good atmosphere, and may the best team win. On Leeds United, speaking of them, an incredible club, incredible history as well. I've been here long enough to understand the history of that club. As I said, very special. One big city with just one club. So passionate, and you know what happens when you go there and play. It's great to have them back. Wish them all the best, apart from tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, Leeds have got this obvious reputation of being a big club, a heritage club, a club with a rich history, especially back in the days in the 70s and 80s under people like Don Revie, Brian Clough, and obviously the early 2000s when they had top players, such as they had a team. They had Rio Ferdinand, they had Alan Smudge Smith, who went to United, as did Rio. Also Mark Viduka, Harry Kewell, of course. They had a lot of top players, man. They was a heritage club, and we had some real good battles with Leeds just before they obviously hit financial turmoil. But Leeds are a big club, similar to Nottingham Forest in the way they're looked at, where they're definitely a Premier League club for sure. So it'll be good. It's good to have them back, and once again, they've got one of their best fans for sure. Their fans are going to bring a really, really good atmosphere tomorrow. Look forward to that. On Madueke's potential impact, Any creative player who can unlock situations from closed situations, creating that uncertainty, more attention as well in and around the ball, is going to create space in other places. Having more creativity, more weapons, having the ability to bring different profiles onto the pitch at different stages in the game, something that for sure we're going to have this season, and that's great. So yeah, Noni Madueke, he's come on the last few games, didn't look comfortable on the left wing. Obviously, it's pretty obvious his best position is on the right wing. However, our arguably best player, Bukayo Saka, resides there, plays there. So it's obviously going to be difficult for him to get in there. However, I think the more he trains with his teammates, the more he kind of gets used to running down the touchline and getting crosses in, because I think that's the main reason he's out on the left wing. He has a good chance of staking his claim to start there if he can put in a run of good performances, get some assists for Viktor Gyökeres and co. Show a good attitude. I think he needs to improve defensively for sure. We could. That's in a sense he can learn a thing or two from Gabriel Martinelli in that respect. However, I think his directness and his just willingness to just attack the fullback could stand him in good stead against his two rivals for that position. So yeah. On managing Timber and Jesus. On Jurrien, we have to manage his load. He's been out for a long time, and he comes from a long-term injury. We had one long week. We have to manage the load on that, so we have decided to take a little bit of training down, especially that day in the open session. Gabby is doing super well. I think he looks in a really good place. Obviously, it's a massive injury, and we need to come from that in a really strong way. But certainly, he's in the right place and making very strong strides. Interesting. It looks like I've made some observations of Gabriel Jesus, and it looks like he's almost certainly looking to kind of come back into the side sooner rather than later. I'm sure when he got injured in January, like most, we probably thought he was going to miss the vast majority of this season. We won't see him until 2026. However, from what I've seen and from what I'm hearing and heard, I don't think he's got too long to go before he can kind of, look to kind of start trying to get himself back into first team training, then maybe gets on the bench, some minutes on the pitch, maybe a couple Carabao Cup games. We're probably talking October, maybe. September's probably a bit of a push, but I think one thing's for sure. I think Gabriel Jesus will play this calendar year for sure. As with Jurrien Timber, it's a weird one with Timber. It just seems that he's kind of broke down slightly and kind of was overplayed last season, hence the signing of Christian Mosquera. But then again, don't be surprised if Jurrien Timber starts tomorrow. So it's a weird one. I think it's just a case of him getting minutes, because we've got 2 games before the international break, 2 vital games, especially the second one against Liverpool. So we need all our top players fit, willing and raring to go after the break, especially. So yeah. On making our counter-attacks more effective, a few things: understanding the behaviour of the opposition, understanding what kinds of runs and where we have to start, the timing of that connection as well, which is something that in every situation is going to be different. Understanding certain principles, where we want to arrive and how we want to do it. Then it's about the execution and being fast as well in those moments to make that decision, because when your heart rate is 180, to make that pass is not the same as when you've been resting after a set piece for 1 minute. Every situation is different, but I'm sure we're going to improve it. The good thing is the intention of the team has been exceptional. It's now about making those little margins, those tunes, to make it more efficient. So yeah, obviously counter attacks or transitions, which is the new modern day phrase for counter attack, is something we haven't been the greatest at in recent years. I've always said that we've lacked pace especially in attacking areas. Too reliant on people like Gabriel Martinelli. Saka is, wouldn't say he's a speed star. He's got a bit of pace about him, but it's good that we've added people like Madueke and Gyökeres to that front line. So we've obviously got more of a threat, especially in transition. But yeah, I think we do need to improve our decision making in transition, because on Sunday we had some really good situations which we didn't make the most of, which reminded me of the Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge last November or October, one of them months. So it's something we do need to improve the efficiency in our decision making and our execution. On what it's been like to work with Andrea Berta this summer, the great thing is that ownership has always been the same. They've been super supportive. We had a really strong board as well, very well connected. Then 3 very different people. Very grateful to the 3 of them and enjoy working with all of them. With Andrea, now, again, as I expected, is someone who is extremely professional and very thorough, very determined, and brings something different to the table as well. I enjoy working with him a lot. I mean, the bit where he describes Andrea Berta as extremely professional, very thorough, very determined, almost like he's talking about himself. Because, I mean, if he was going to describe Mikel Arteta, it's someone that's very calculated, thorough, very, what's the word, meticulous, and, he's very thoughtful. He's a thinker. But yeah, the ownership have really backed him this summer. But then again, because a lot of the press, a lot of the media want to say, oh, Arsenal have to win the league because they've spent X amount of money. But then so have Liverpool and Manchester City. So what are they allowed to not win it then? Because Liverpool supposedly have the best players, have had the best window, supposedly, allegedly, and have legacy players such as Mohamed Salah, Alisson, and Virgil van Dijk. So who are we to think we can, knock them off their perch if these guys are legacy players? Obviously, we've got 5 or 6 in our starting 11 who almost certainly will be legacy players if they, 1, win us big titles and trophies, and 2, realise their potential because they're in their mid-20s. People like Saliba, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Magalhaes, to name but a few. So, but yeah, we've been back this summer. We've had an amazing window, especially if this Eze transfer does go through, and hopefully, that won't be the end of it. On how the team can evolve this season, a few things, obviously, that I won't express here. With evolution, make sure that when we're evolving, we are maintaining the great things that we do and just tweaking and making the things that can give us big value, not spending too much time on them. And that's what we have done, and we're going to continue to do. You will see that evolution as well comes from the individuals. At the end, it's about the players, putting those players with their qualities in those positions as often as possible to express their qualities. So, I mean, we've definitely changed the way we've played in the last 2-3 years. So, obviously, in 22-23, that was the best I've seen Arsenal in years. And I'm sure a lot of you can concur. We were just effervescent. We was expressive. We was attacking. And you might say naive towards the end of the season. We kind of ran out of steam and fell apart. And obviously, I think that 4-1 defeat against Manchester City was a turning point in the way we do things, the way we play. We changed our style after that game, and definitely not a coincidence. That's the last time we've lost to a Big Six side, the traditional Big Six sides, that is. So, what do you want? Do you want to have this gung-ho football that you can probably say Liverpool play, or do you want winning football? Well, I mean, I guess the answer is somewhere in between. I think we have shown, especially last season, there was about 3 or 4 games where we put teams to the sword with excellent, outstanding attacking football with the door locked. So I can throw out games like Man City, Real Madrid, Sporting Lisbon and Crystal Palace, to name but a few, and obviously the West Ham away game. But yeah, it's just about finding that happy medium, and I think Mikel has alluded to that by saying just tweaking and making the things that can give us big value. So yeah, on David Raya's stature as a goalkeeper, David is very big and he's very brave. You cannot be the tallest, but you have the will and the courage to go for these kinds of balls. That's a massive attribute. He's a super athlete. He's someone very athletic, very powerful, really dynamic, really agile, and that's a big advantage because he can time things really well. And on that action, especially when there are so many bodies in the box to come out and do that, it shows his courage and personality and his capacity to deal with these kind of situations. Yeah, I mean, David's come on leaps and bounds in the last 12 months or so. He was exceptional. I mean, he's won the Golden Glove 2 seasons in a row. He's behind the best, he's essential part of the best defence in the league. Kept a clean sheet last week at Old Trafford, made some tremendous saves. I think that game on Sunday was reminiscent of the Aston Villa game at Villa Park 12 months ago, where we kind of was under the cosh. He came out up trumps, made a few wonder saves against Ollie Watkins, and since then he's just gone on leaps and bounds, and there's no doubt he's amongst the top 2 or 3 goalkeepers in the league. I mean, you could argue he's probably second, only bettered by Alisson, but I mean, I'm sure people like Emiliano Martinez will have something to say about that. On if we're sending out a statement with our transfer business, I think we are showing the ambition that we want to do, that we are here to win major trophies, to keep evolving and improving every single year. That's going to come with demands, and those demands are clear. It's our competitors, what we're doing, where the league is going. We're going to be in front, not just chasing or acting or behind. We just want to be in front of it, and every decision that we make in every area of the club to try and achieve that. I mean, the club has really done everything it can to support the manager this summer, brought in some top signings, and I don't remember a transfer window as good and exciting as this. I mean, the one a few seasons ago when we brought in Declan Rice and Jurrien Timber was a really good one, but this one, for the volume and quality of players that we've brought in, I mean, half of the players we brought in go straight into the starting 11, and this is a side that got to the Champions League semi-finals and have finished second 3 seasons on the trot. So I mean, yeah, we spent 200 odd million, due to increase to about 270 or so, but obviously it's just about the quality, and obviously I think we need to kind of trim the squad a bit, and I'm sure we're going to have 3 or 4 departures in the coming weeks. Players like Albert, Sambi Lokonga, Fabio Vieira, Reece Nelson, they'll be leaving the club, I'm sure of that. On if it brings any extra pressure to him, the motivation for me is, how can we be better? How can we continue to evolve to win more football matches with bigger margins? How can we bring the people that we have closer to us, more connected? I think the players that we already have are incredible, the ones that we have already signed. I think they are players that are going to connect with our people and make them proud and excited. Well, I mean, we have a really strong squad. Some people are saying we've got the strongest squad in the league. I mean, certainly defensively and in the goalkeeping positions, we've got good strength and depth. The midfield is very strong. I think it lacked, notice I say lacked, past tense, creativity. That was prior to Eberechi Eze being brought in, fingers crossed. But the attack, we just need to kind of get the right the right kind of dynamic to the attack, the right kind of blend. I think it might be a horses for courses situation where there's 3 or 4 players swapping and changing for the 3 positions up top, depending on the opposition's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. But like tomorrow, I think people like Trossard might have a place in the lineup, injury permitting, that is. And speaking of Leandro, on Leandro Trossard's contract situation, I prefer not to because it's not my duty. I'm really, really happy with Leo. That situation has been resolved in a really great way, and I think he deserves our recognition. We are really happy to have him. I mean, I assume that he's confirming that the Trossard contract has been signed. However, I haven't seen anything official come out from the club. So, I mean, I think it's one of those 99% situations, but you just need a club to kind of put it on a website just so there's no doubt remaining. On if there will be a few players leaving, it might be speculation. The good players always have options to go. Leo was very clear from the beginning that he wanted to be here. The club was very clear that they wanted Leo here. I was very clear that I wanted him here. At the end, a good outcome. So I think that's essentially him confirming Leo signed the contract, but I just don't think the club have put it out really, for whatever reason. Maybe they're focusing on the Leeds game, or maybe they're just focusing on kind of getting the Eze media done. But yes, it's as good as done. But in terms of the players leaving, I mentioned that earlier, with people like Lokonga, Nelson, Vieira, possibly Kivior. I won't be surprised if we get a late 20-30 million bid from maybe an Italian side or mid-table side like a Fulham or Palace. And one thing I would say, if Mark Gurhey goes to Liverpool for the 50 million that's been quoted, I think they come in for Kivior and offer about 30 to 35 million, and I think the club's going to accept it, I'll be real, because I think the club will think having 7 players fight for 4 positions is enough. I think they'll believe that Mosquera can kind of cover 2 or 3 positions there. On if Kai's injury has influenced our business, it was accurate. I think it was very clear when I said that it wasn't done. We were very actively trying to look at the possibilities that could come. We are not reacting to anything. We've been very prepared and understand what we could do. We have decided that this is the moment to do it. So I think he's essentially saying that no, Kai Havertz's injury hasn't been the reason for kind of speeding up the Eze deal. So the only thing you can take from that is it's a coincidence that Kai got injured on Sunday or whatever, and we've accelerated the deal for Eze on Wednesday. So Wednesday evening, to be precise. On if getting one more in will complete the squad. I don't know, because to complete the squad, we have to see the in and the out. It's still a long time in the window. So I think essentially what he's saying is in terms of the balance of the squad. So we might lose 2 centre-backs. Just for instance, we won't lose 2 centre-backs, but we might lose 2 players in a certain position, and we might look a little bit weak in that. So we might have to now bring in a certain player. But in all likelihood, yeah, we're going to lose people like Lokonga. Like I mentioned, I keep mentioning these players. We'll lose about 3-4 players. I think any more than that, you might be looking at getting another replacement in. Like, for instance, if we do lose Kivior, we might bring someone in, but I think we're good. I think seven defenders that can fill in 4 positions, especially of the quality that we have, is enough. But 8 is fine because it's just 2 in each position, right? On if getting one more in will complete the squad, yep. On Zubimendi playing for both teams in open training. Oh, I see that. He was wearing like a neutral coloured bib. It has an element of that. It has an element of the load. He missed a couple of training sessions before Man United with illness. Obviously, the game took a lot out of him, and we wanted to manage him as well. So yeah, Martin Zubimendi was ill for the United game, which probably explains a more understated performance. And he wasn't the only one, to be fair. But I think our midfield metronome, maestro, is going to have a magnificent performance tomorrow. Bow!